And okay, welcome to the Filipino Garage, Angela.
Hello, hello.
Can you please bless the mic, the proverbial mic, with some of your art?
Yeah. So this is an original called Hallelujah.
Wow, original!
Just kidding.
You wrote this one? Damn!
All right. Yeah?
Yes.
Heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke the throne, she cut your hair, and from the lips she drew hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. I've seen your flag on the marble arch, and love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Woo! Salamat for that.
Yes, yes.
Welcome and thank you for blessing. You wrote that? Wow! I think I've seen that. I've heard that in a bunch of different places.
Yeah, it's really made its way around.
Oh, you get the royalties for that? and
Joke,
stuff?
joke.
Damn.
Yeah.
Thanks for blessing the mic.
Yeah.
Shout out, the first time I actually heard you sing was in the Philippines, right? We've known each other since 2017, right? I first met you at
Transfer weekend.
at Cal.
Yes.
You were my first friend, and I was like, "Yo, you're Filipino." But the way it was set up, we weren't grouped with all the other Filipinos, right? We were like in one big, conglomeration with everybody.
They put me in the Latino group too.
Oh.
Or the Latinx group.
Oh.
But yes.
And then we went to the Philippines this last summer, and then that's when I first heard you sing, and I was honestly pleasantly surprised because you never sang, you never mentioned that you sang like these last 2 years. We were at school anytime, because I know you as arte, your art practice, right? In at Cal, that's your major, right?
Yeah.
So I was surprised because you also have a good tone. You have like a like a very folksy, bluesy tone that's more like you can actually sound good whispering, you know.
Hello.
ASMR.
Welcome to my ASMR.
Welcome to the episode of KuyaChris ASMR. Let me. This will be the new style of podcasting.
This is us drinking water.
My turn. Damn. My mom always said that I'm noisy while I'm eating. Maybe I found my calling.
Yeah. This is it. This is your post-grad Cal career. I promise you. There's a future in it. Yeah.
The future. I mean, honestly, if I pursued my gaming when I was younger, bro, so many people are streaming and making bank off games and everything.
They are.
If only I pursued my Pokemon Master training.
A Twitch streamer in Tagalog in ASMR. It's a really niche market, but I'm sure that there's an audience.
Ay, putang ina, I'm getting beaten. Oh, shit. Okay. Go, Pikachu. Ay, tangina, Pikachu.
Ay, Pika.
Did you want to do another one? Or save the next song for a little bit later?
Let's save it. Yeah, let's
save
talk.
it. Okay,
let's
you
chat.
can put it on the side. So if you're.
Ay, but it's safe. It's my safety.
Huh?
Okay, fine.
No, so you're not holding
you
on
have
to
me
it.
in so many wires, though. If I
Or just put it standing up on the couch on its bottom side, like that. So you're not holding it, but then it's gonna just rest on the couch, like that. Like. Yeah.
Ay,
See,
diba?
so now you can get into the zone. You can pull the mic a little bit closer to you, and feel the energy of the Filipino garage.
It's such a space. The art is perfect, and oh my gosh.
And I was saying, hopefully, I'll get a piece from you up on this wall in the near future.
Yeah.
Because can you tell folks a little background? You are doing art practice at Cal.
Yes, I study art practice and comparative ethnic studies. And I think that those two really scaffold each other well.
Can you give me like an overview of what art practice is, and then why you are pursuing art practice? Like, what do you want to do? You're artista, make art.
I want to teach. I want to teach, and I want to make things. And I don't know what that looks like after graduation yet, but I think that it'll take shape. Yeah. I mean, art practice. When choosing the community that I wanted to be a part of at Cal, I really did it based on. It's so hippy dippy, but the vibe and the energy. There was a weird thing that happened with my classes early on, and then I had to switch majors last minute because things just weren't feeling right, and logistically it wasn't working too. And I really found my place in my community in the arts, as well as a lot of other spaces on Cal, but definitely in art too.
So you first transferred in though as?
I transferred in as ISF. Interdisciplinary studies, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Without really understanding the nuance of what academic research is like. I think that I was drawn to it as a field that is interdisciplinary in a way that you can explore that. And I think that in a lot of ways, that's what art is too, and what the art program has been to me, and the kind of work that I've been able to do there. I've been able to take a lot of classes in a lot of different departments, and have conversations with people from many more departments and just walks of life and perspectives. And I think that that informs so much of what my work has become about.
Do you have a portfolio on your phone, like pictures and stuff of the projects that you've done?
Right now?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure,
cool. So pull that up because I kind of want, and then we could overlay it on the video afterwards. But because I know you sang, right? But then you do a lot of other forms of art. So then it's a little bit different in terms of how we can present it. But I'd like to like go into that too, because I've had poets here, kind of photographers, singers, but then also you've done sculptures and stuff, right? And you've done like art installation type things.
Yeah, it's a little bit slow loading. Like my.
Oh, let me plug in the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Right there, I got the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so in the past I've done a lot of, I guess recently I've done a lot of sculptural and installation pieces that usually have elements that are activated by the audience. And I do surreal staged photo. And a lot of the work is, I guess, to put it in like very oversimplified terms, like identity politics as well as social and political critique. So
you need a charger though, B.
I know. My shit's dying.
I'll plug you in a bit.
I'm good. Yeah.
But you went into Cal. What was your initial idea of what were you gonna do with ISF?
I was interested in education. Yeah. And looking at the systems of education, but I just, that feels like so long ago. Like it feels like worlds away. I mean, now I have like a, what?
Because it does, I was just thinking, I was like, damn, that does feel a while ago.
It feels like
remember when we were walking to Clark Kerr, and then, were you with the group when we walked to Clark Kerr for dinner? No, you bounced from the... Do you remember?
I might have.
You did.
It was so long ago.
You bounced from the group. I think you did. I think while we were walking, that's when you left or something. But anyway, I remember walking and doing the whole thing. And yeah, that's a while ago. But it's not that long ago if you think about it, like 2 years. But then a lot...
It's one of those things where it feels like both, where it's like it went by really fast and so much has happened, and it feels like so recent but simultaneously so long ago. I don't know, when you think of it in terms of growth and trajectory and community and what you believe your capacity will be, when you look at it in those terms, it's like worlds away ago.
I was just doing my journaling, right? Yes, last night, and then I finished another book, like Moleskine type length book, right?
Congrats.
Thank you. And then I was looking at my past entries because I have a little stack, and then I was looking from like 2013, right? That's so long ago, 6 years ago, right? But then I read it, and then there's some entries where like, damn, I still think similar ways or write the same like self-motivational shit, like I have to focus and get shit done, and I'll focus and all this shenanigans, right? And then I'm like, this sounds like a recent entry, but then there are other entries where I'm like, what is this fool talking about? Where I had this one where it was super simp, and it was like I
saw that on your Instagram story.
I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm going through the fields in this page, man. And then so it's interesting how it's so far away, 6 years, right? I'm almost a whole completely another being, right? Because every 7 years your cells replace themselves, right? So you don't have a single cell that's the same from 7 years ago. Wow.
Ooh, science.
Wow. Science. But at the same time, also time in terms of our understanding of time, right? 6 years is a long time, but then you look at the similarities, there are still things that are the same, right? Of how I like think of things or process things, self-motivate, and then there are other things that are super different where like, bro, you're super simpy. Well, actually, I don't think if that's super different, I still get super simpy right now. But yeah, you're talking about, though, I get.
Because we're all in progress, always, you know, and it's a whole process all the time.
Always loading.
Always buffering.
Always buffering. Damn, life is always buffering.
Life is science. Life is technology.
Oh.
Life is cells.
Do you know that there's a... Well, that's true, right? Or you can say life is space, because there's actually more space in between cells and molecules and whatever, atoms, whatever, than there is actual atoms. So then there is actual mass. So the space between things is actually more than the things that there is. Bro, smart.
Yo.
I don't even know if that's correct. I just listened to podcasts and I try to reinterpret it and restate things as if I know what I'm saying, but half of the things I don't really know. But let's get back to it. You were saying it seems so far away, right? The idea that you were going to do education. It crashed. But at least it's still safe. Let me just continue recording. Yeah, you were saying that you were wanting to do education, but then that changed into art practice?
It hasn't changed. It's just expanded in different ways. Because in the ISF program, it's very research-based. And I won't talk a lot about that program because I think that there are a lot of good folks doing good work there. But it was something that didn't feel right for me. And...
Oh, so you're talking about going into UC and like the research.
And really reckoning with what like that research academia and all of that means and like what its role is. And we've been really unpacking it in one of my ethnic studies courses of the work that the Data Center does. Have you heard of them before?
No.
They do community-centered research, and a lot of their practices center like oral histories and narratives of actual community members, as well as like the hard data in archives and in newspapers and things of the sort. But it's all... It kind of removes the barrier between research and academia into research that enables people who are doing the work to keep doing the work, and for there to be a solidarity within policymakers, community makers, researchers, and so on. So the Data Center does. I think that they're closed now. They had to be defunded or something.
Really?
Yeah, a couple years ago, which is trash, but. Yeah, they were doing really good work. So I think just there is a lot of potential and possibility and value in research and in very deep research. But I think that so much of the tradition of that has to be radically changed in order for it to mean something beyond just publishing papers for the ego or for the clout.
It's like the whole ivory tower type thing. And then this is a criticism I've heard of even ethnic studies, from how the initial movement was started and what they wanted to push for, and through time has become kind of like an institutionalized academic space rather than a space to manifest change outside of the institution and for the community. And I'm not saying all ethnic studies are like that, right? But I think that's been one of the criticisms, at least that I've heard of, especially after the anniversary was last year of the
Third World Liberation Front.
How many years was that? Like
50 years.
50 years?
Yeah.
It was a 50th year? Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what I realized too when I got to Cal. I was like, oh, this is what they mention about a research-based institution, right? Because I remember way back when I was in high school, I was talking to one of my friends who went to UCLA, and then I was asking him, oh, what do you think of community college and UCLA, things like that? And he was the first person that ever told me that dude, the community college professors are better in terms of teaching because at least, and he was in more of a science field. He was doing pre-med. And then he was telling me how at least his teachers, the ones that he ran across in UCLA, they were there at a research institution to do research, not necessarily teach. They were required to teach for their research position, right? And then versus folks in community college, like go there to teach, right? Because they want to teach. And this is, of course, generalizations. There's good, like, UC teachers, of course. But in general, that's what happens because it's a research-based institution, right?
I think to backtrack on what you said about ethnic studies being problematic at moments, I think that that's right. I think that anything that exists in these institutions, you have to be critical of. I think that ethnic studies is in itself a radical form of knowledge, collection, creation, interpretation, etc. But as we're growing and as we're progressing, like things will stretch and skew in so many different ways that we have to be skeptical, for lack of a better word, and critical, but also have it be rooted in love. Like, if I heard one of my peers say something that feels wrong or feels dissonant, I would ask them to unpack that and, rather than like perpetuate this call out culture or like cancel culture. And that's very much on like the micro level. I think when it gets higher up into folks who are doing research that may have questionable ethics to it, it's so hard to be perfect. And I think that we should, depending on the person, depending on the circumstance, allow forgiveness and growth and understanding in that community work too, especially as we are redefining and reconfiguring like what research and like what can happen at the university can be. Like it's a tough process. Like Third World Liberation Front was just the beginning of it. They did amazing work, brilliant work. Bucket.
Oh, that was just the GoPro shutting off. I was also worried. I was like, what was that? Is it burning?
The house is on fire and it gives you 3 beeps. No.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think that it's good to be critical and it's good to be rooted in love. I feel a lot of the same way. This might be a jump, but also in where my mind is going with it. I feel a lot of the same way, and like how my dynamic is with my parents and my family in some ways. I think that this is a whole complicated thing that I think a lot of others, maybe children of Filipino immigrants, children of immigrants, children of anyone really, where they find themselves growing. And, people are taught sometimes how to be parents in the early stages, but I think that once things start to like stretch and skew also, like change. We don't talk a lot about those big changes and how we can grow together rather than be like stuck.
So when you're talking about...
That was a lot, sorry.
No, but when you're talking about in terms of parents, right?
Right.
You started going there, but what do you mean? Like, are you talking about how you're growing in relationship to how the relationship is established or the norms of the relationship?
Well, I'll use the example of like colorism and like racism within them, and having to have like so much capacity to, in those moments, like, for one thing, pick your battles, but also how can you change a cycle and like a generational tradition where it's like so embedded. Yeah.
I think it's possible to change
Yeah,
family, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a labor.
It's a labor.
It's a lifetime labor.
But I actually think it's super important, especially for folks who call themselves like activists or community organizers. What's up? What happened? What, are you just messing with the wire? Are you a fidgeter? I'm a fidgeter, fam. Sometimes I tear a piece of paper, but then I'm really focusing, I'm on the person, but then I tear a piece of paper, but it helps me listen. One time I was playing with a cheese puff, and just slowly crunching it on my finger, but then I'm very focused, right? And I feel that actually centers me to listen. If you actually...
Do you remember when we sat and we talked in the Coffee Bean in the Philippines for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And then we both brought up our hands later and we ripped the straw wrapper in the same way.
Were you were ripping it too?
Yeah, we did it in the same pattern too. I was like, wow, Libras.
Libras, happy birthday!
Yeah, happy belated to you too.
Maybe there's something it's our season right now.
Yeah. In our moon.
I haven't been up on my co-star. Co-star in the Philippines got me through some shit, so co-star is good. But recently I haven't really been, but I think it started losing its magic once the same messages started popping up again and again.
Oh.
Because I guess it's a cycle they go through. They have their database of whatever it says, breathe a little deeper today, or change your hair, other shit.
Is that why you got 5 fades in the Philippines?
No, I get that just to maintain it. It's hard to maintain, dude. You gotta, and today is fresh. Look at that shit. But it's actually more effort, I think, to maintain shorter hair versus my medium. When I'm on medium, I let it grow out a little bit more. But then once you have a fade, it's very obvious when something grows in. And it's just ugly, that initial step. And then it's not as clean and as sharp. And then once you get that fade and lineup, it's like a power up, a boost. Like a stats, you're playing The Sims and you get +2 charisma, like that. And then it's just self-maintenance. Anyway, fidgeting. We're talking about something right before that. Parenting. There you go. So when I was in the Philippines, one of my tweets went semi-viral, at least within the Filipina American community, about
with Lola,
with my Lola in the Philippines, addressing colorism, right? And how not to put family on blast, but to put her on blast, at least at that moment, she was talking about you have to improve the race. Because the discussion was, hey, what if I date this person who's darker skinned? And then, because I was showing them, look at how beautiful this person is, right? And then they mentioned something about you have to improve the race. And I learned that that's not just a Filipino thing. They say that para la raza, or is raza race? Raza or something, not raza, something in Spanish. They have the same saying, mejor something, whatever, to improve or to better their race. And it's a common thing in that culture too. But we had a discussion, and then a few weeks, she still argues after, but then she switches it. She's like, I'm not saying about skin. She got defensive. You're putting words into my mouth, Christian, making me look bad on the internet. Shit like that. I was like, no, that's not my intention. But that was the conversation at that moment. And then now it's a joke in our family. Now my brother makes fun of me and says to my Lola there, we call her Nanang, which is mom in Ilocano. My brother goes, oh, be careful, Nanang, ha? He might be recording you. He'll record you. Watch out. So they're making fun of me now. But in terms of the conversation, it shifted. Even my dad sometimes steps in and talks about, to my nanang, is oh, you can't say that, nanang, because that's racism. My dad will point things out. And it's
with a joking tone, but also, it's the beginning of a shift, too.
It's kind of to say that, oh, that's racism, is a method of delivery that can more easily kind of infuse that idea into the conversation, into their life. Because if you go into woke ass, that's racism, cancel, you're not gonna get anywhere with a person, right? You're making them feel bad as a person rather than like, okay, maybe you could feel bad about what you did, but to go on this attacking is gonna close someone off, right? So like Twitter wars ain't really solving issues. They're only entrenching people into their sides. But then if you can find a way to deliver the message, and I try to do it with humor and my family and with love and like hella animated things like that in different ways, then the message can be delivered. And I really believe in the idea that if you call yourself an activist or call yourself a community organizer and you're out doing all these things, like somebody said before, the first people that you should learn how to organize is your family, like, and your own home. I know it's hard for some people with a little bit more traumatic home environments or tumultuous home environments. There should be a limit, of course, in terms of that. But for the general population with okay home situations, even if it is more of an effort, you should start there, in my opinion. And I forgot, but that's not my idea. Somebody else said that. I forgot who to cite though, but somebody said about you should first start organize. If you want to be a community organizer, first start with your family, like that. And it's a big hypocritical. Yeah, it's Hippocratic. No, that's your Hippocratic oath. That's the medical thing, where they quote. Where they take the oath of to do no harm and to save lives. Hypocritical. Whatever. Anyway, my brain is in a jump right now. I'm not on caffeine or nothing.
Sober October.
I am on Sober October. I'm not on caffeine, but I feel like I'm jumpy right now.
Good.
I wonder what it...
Good or bad?
Not bad, but... It's like, ooh,
because connections, that's good.
Yeah, but then it's not the most organized thing to listen to, like on a podcast.
Maybe you'll revisit the idea of like whether or not you'll edit. No,
be structured. We'll see.
Logo change,
what?
Show change.
No, I don't like it to be super structured. I like it to be organized in terms of like my own thinking and guiding the conversation or like that. But sometimes I just tune into the energy and I just go you know, Hippocratic oath, and hypocritical
science.
And
that's good.
But anyway,
I think and
start with family.
I think that there's no guidebook to be the sons, daughters, and children of the diaspora, you know? So we're all kind of fumbling through it in a lot of ways, and I think that a lot of that means failing up sometimes, and just really being gentle with each other and being gentle with ourselves too.
You know what? I think you could be a counselor. I have some counselor friends that did their masters in counseling and stuff, work as college counselor, high school counselor. You have a similar vibe in the way that you process like things and you talk things out, right? But it is also though a little more, I can see the artistic, like philosophical in you in terms of when you process or explain things.
Well, you know that like those fields of counseling, of marriage family therapy, of teaching are such artistic pursuits and so deeply creative in every single moment, you know? So thank you. That's a very high compliment.
That's interesting. But you are planning on becoming a teacher. That's what you said?
Yes, yeah. I think after graduating this December, I want to feel it out a bit before committing to, man, grad school is so expensive, man. I actually have thought of being a community college counselor. And my other really strong pull is to teach ethnic studies at the high school level. And, you know, a lot of the first contacts that people, or the meaningful contacts that people have with, young people have with history and ethnic studies are in the K through 12 public school system. So even right now, with like such strong discussion on what ethnic studies curriculum should look like, what it does look like, what it can be, it feels like I said, like a creative endeavor for sure, and a community endeavor as well.
Okay, can you give me a little background? We'll do like a speed round of like your background and stuff like that, just so I get a context of how come ethnic studies is important to you, and like where you've gone through in this progression and stuff. All right, where were you born?
Where was I born? Sacramento, California, 916, baby.
916.
Rep forever, go Kings. We're hitting a rough patch right now. It's been a rough 3 years, or many years, I guess. But
you're the only
I
second
stand for
person
them.
I know that reps the Kings are from Sacramento.
Yeah. We will have our
Brandon
glory
Basa.
days
Have
again.
you met Brandon Basa?
No.
I think he was a year ahead of us. And then his grad cap was like the Kings, and he always reps the Kings. Shout out Brandon Basa.
Hey.
And yeah, okay, cool. So you were born in Sacramento.
Born in
You
Sacramento.
grew up there.
Grew up there my whole life.
To Filipino parents.
Filipino mom and Vietnamese father.
Oh, you got the mix.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a great mix.
It just means that I've been code switching since like the day that I was born.
Do you understand Vietnamese?
No.
You understand?
I understand how to order my favorite dishes in Vietnamese. I get bun tom thit nướng with no bean sprout.
And then when you give it to me, I say, come on.
Come on. Oh, wow, he learned. You went to Hanoi? Or where?
Gailam.
Oh.
I don't know if that's correct.
I don't know what that means.
M-Oi.
M-Oi? Is that like hello? Like hello, young
No,
girl?
it's just like, hi, beautiful. Like that.
Oh, shit. Okay.
My friend texted me. He was like, dude, just say this. Just say M-Oi. And then, okay, so Filipino mama, but you understand Filipino, Tagalog.
Tagalog, yeah.
You understand that you went to high school in Sacramento?
I went to high school in Sacramento.
Community college?
And then I went to community college. I was never really on a college track in high school. And then when I was applying for university out of community college, they had me submit my transcripts. I didn't even graduate.
From high school?
Yeah, don't tell anyone. Don't tell my employers, but I don't have like the like a high school diploma.
Did you get the
I don't know.
What was that other thing?
The GED?
Yeah.
Voila.
Berkeley.
I know, I just feel like it's my little secret, not because I'm ashamed, but because I feel like people just stop asking at a certain point.
Wait, so out of high school, how come you didn't finish high school?
I think I was struggling a lot with like mental health, and it was pretty debilitating too. And I had a lot of other things going on. I found refuge really, really strongly in physical theater and ensemble work that I was doing, which is like using, we would go through like militaristic physical training for months and months, and then we would use like acrobatics to tell stories. And I found a lot of love in that. And I think that was one of my first meaningful contacts with like creation.
So you're doing theater and that stuff during high school?
During high school.
Okay.
But a lot of the times I was not showing up to class, and therefore just failed a lot of classes. Yeah. And it was really discouraging from my I had many teachers who were amazing people and just benevolent and like had an abundance of love and care and sincerity that really made an impression on me. And I like to think that you know, looking at my trajectory now, that's been more powerful than the people who said like, don't even apply to don't apply to college, just go do your trade school, do whatever. The school counselors who were like, you're not, like, from freshman year, like, you're not really college material.
They said that?
Those types of things. Yeah. I think they said that to my brother, too. And I was just like, the fuck?
So, okay, you have siblings. Younger?
My older brother. Yeah.
So you're the youngest. Bunso, okay. Bunso power. Then your parents weren't on you, like, during high school? Or were they, like, the...
well, like, I think that I had always had some kind of... It was at a time where like open discussions about mental health were not so present, and especially with the stigma within the family. So they were on me for school, and they're wonderful. I love my parents, but I think that with their exposure to mental health and their own personal experiences, it just wasn't a thing that they were really able to understand with a lot of nuance then. And so that became a point of tension between me and the rest of my family. Like, I was always pegged as, I feel like, the one who was always sleeping, or like the lazy one, but I was doing my best.
So did you take a break between high school and CC, or do you go straight?
No, my brother forced me. He said, you need to keep going to school. You need to go to community college. And even if you don't know why, or your direction yet, you just
take classes.
Yeah, and he's definitely he's 8 years older in our family of like first gen college students and first gen American born kids. So he felt a lot of, I'm assuming, he felt a lot of pressure to, have me kind of keep pushing. And I think that, he is from a different generation than my parents. So, and he's guided with love as well. So it was kind of this idea of like, you need to keep going and going, even when it gets hard and even when you don't know.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
The heck?
So, yeah. So he has been, my brother's like my driving force a lot of the time, as well as my mom and my dad too. It's important to answer. Is he okay?
Huh?
Is he okay?
Yeah. I thought it was like safety thing, but it's good. What's this called? I'm actually gonna be first time in a bachelor party.
Whoa!
This coming November, and then the wedding.
Who's getting married?
My homie out here,
Joshua.
Oh my God, there's so many. I know fucking like
Joseph.
Joseph, and then I have a Joshua here, a Joshua in Berkeley, Joshua in the Philippines, and then. Oh my God, my second name is Joshua.
Really?
Fucking, yeah. Christian Joshua. All these, I love them though. But it just gets, I'm like Joshua, Joe. Like,
you're prematurely like a mom already, like going through all the names before you land on the right one.
No, I'm planning. I'm not gonna use any of the Christianized names, even if mine is Christianized. But you were saying about your brother. Yeah. Thank you for sharing about your brother.
Yeah.
But you went immediately to CC.
To CC, I was in audio engineering. That was the program, the like trade program I was doing.
Damn, they had it at your CC? That's dope. Man, I should have done that at a CC because I actually went to a vocational school for audio engineering, but then that was a for-profit school. So I paid like 30 G's for that. And I didn't really know that you could actually learn in CC, depending on where, not every CC has a program, but a good amount of them do.
Yeah, CC is magic, man.
Yeah, bro, I could have saved hella money.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I learned it eventually, right? And I was able to access everything, great relationships with some of the folks there. But like, bro, that's why our first company out of school, our collective, and we launched a recording studio, was called 30K Entertainment because we wanted to pay off our school debt. I actually like that name now when I
30K is immense. That's huge.
30K Entertainment because we wanted to pay our loans. That's a lot, and it wasn't even. That was a year and a half, 18-month program. That's a lot. Yeah. So fuck. But going back to there, how was your transition in community college, and then how did you like get to Cal?
It was dope.
Right? Like,
that's
give
where
me that.
that's where I started to love learning in the classroom and really realizing the possibility. Yeah, like I started taking. I took Sociology of America, which was pretty much like social justice history 101 with Pamela Chow. Bless that woman, amazing. And then from there, I was working with Unite. I was at American River College, so that was our community and diversity center, which was a hub for social justice oriented work and community organizing that was embedded within the college. So that was such a unique program, jump started by Rod Agbunag, who is a close mentor, like Kuya Rod, like amazing person.
Did he do the Rock the School Bells there?
He does RTSB
okay.
with what is their collective name? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
But yeah, they do good work. They do Rock the School Bells with Let's See. Yeah.
Well, when
Low End Theory Collaborative.
Low End Theory, yeah, I heard it. I was like, when I heard a Filipino name within ethnic studies up over there doing good work, I had a feeling it was Rock the School Bells.
Yeah.
Rock the School Bells is dope. Shout out.
Yeah,
Rock the
shout out RTSB.
RTSB.
Yeah.
Then you found that space.
He had me do a workshop at RTSB for street art and spray painting. It was so cool.
Do you do street art and spray paint?
Like on the low, yeah. But it hurts my asthma. You know?
That's some real shit.
Yeah.
Shout out to albuterol.
Yeah.
This sponsor podcast. I'm sponsored by albuterol. ASMR. What if I ASMR'd my wheezing before? Bro, I could act because I could hear my lungs wheezing before.
Diba?
Like,
You're really?
Yeah.
That bad?
I used to have bad asthma.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It got away in like middle school. Once I started working out and running, like it healed it. Like you would think the opposite, right? Like stress, inducing stress would make it worse, or this idea you rest your body. But for some reason, it gets better when I work out.
That makes sense, yeah.
Even now, I feel stuffy, and then my clearest nasal passages is when I freaking run. And when I'm like jogging and stuff, and then when I get home and relax, I'm all stuffed up. I don't know why my body is just not cooperating with me. But that's what you get when you turn 28. This
28, really?
28.
Wow.
I am KuyaChris.
Tatay.
I'm Kuya Tatay. I was like one time, don't call me daddy, call me Tatay.
No. Anyways, so community college. Sober October,
baby. Shout out to my two homegirls, Abby and Catalina. They always do that, and I steal that from them. When they say something nasty, they're always like,
I love that.
So, ethnic studies. Ethnic studies.
Okay. Took sociology, Asian American history, all of these like counter-narrative centered courses, and it was so empowering and built community, like meaningful community. And that was
there ever a flash moment like because I remember this one moment in at Skyline when I was like, oh shit, this shit's important. Like that when it was like and it's just ingrained in my head. Was there a moment of like flipping switches for you over at your community college, or that experience, that time period of being exposed to ethnic studies?
I think there are many, and there will continue to be so many of flipping switches and unlearning a lot of things and learning completely different frameworks too. I remember one of those initial moments was in that sociology class that I'd mentioned before, and then another one, I think that we were having, the Unite group had facilitated a Brave Space, which is like a community open discussion about Islamophobia. And that was in like 2017 or something, maybe December of 2016. And then hearing the people who came through, and you know, at a community college, you get a whole range of folks and a whole range of perspectives there too. Sacramento's has a lot of really excellent people doing fantastic and radical work. But there is also a very deep, like, conservative and racist and white supremacist background in that area as well. So to be doing that work out there was, you know, I mean, in no place is that completely safe, but it definitely felt like a high stakes endeavor there too. But anyways, we had this community discussion, and folks came through who, you know, were very like embodied very anti-Muslim rhetoric and like some very clear discrimination.
Your face was being blocked, so I had to kind of move the mic a little bit. Yeah, actually, could you sit more there? There.
The whole time, sorry, yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, so...
it's not my face being blocked. Okay. Ooh, I got jokes today. The relaunch of the Filipino Garage, baby. Sorry for being the guest. Let me get it out of the system.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I think...
Because you said you don't do cancel culture, so I won't be canceled.
Boy. Too big, please. Too big. Yeah, I think that hearing those conversations and how difficult and jarring and kind of laborious those were, but also the fact that they were able to happen, I think was a big switch for me. I don't think anything is necessarily just about changing someone's mind about something. I think that it's just about having spaces where we can actually listen and talk.
So when you applied to Cal, what did you write in your thing about, like, what I'm gonna be doing? Like, what's your plan? Because you did you write about education, like becoming a teacher?
I wrote. Like, I did a lot of the prompts that were centered on creative endeavors, and I wrote about my experience in the physical theater that I was talking about before, as well as teaching and how that was so powerful of an experience for me. I wrote about the ways that I felt marginalized in school settings and how I didn't have exactly a set idea of like what position I would go into, or exactly like the tenets or the pillars that I would abide by, but that I wanted to dedicate myself to being to changing that system and how young people fall through the cracks a lot of the times. Yeah.
Did you grow up around Filipinos in Sacramento?
Kind of mixed.
What was the demographic of your friends and your cult and the ones you grew up with, like the things that imprinted in terms of your culture and stuff?
In my local neighborhood, we were technically, I'm from Orangevale, not Sacramento, which is like rural ass. Like, drive down the block, there's Trump flags and like Blue Lives Matter flags, just flying proudly in the yards of everybody. And then I went to school about 40 minutes away, which did have a bit more of a diverse student population.
Like how you had a sarcastic.
I hate the word diverse. I hate that. It feels so like a stamp on like a I don't know. But I had Filipino friends. I had white friends and like lots of other people too. Sorry. So it was mixed. I think that a lot of my family on my Filipino side are kind of split in here and over in the Philippines. So when we got to go this past summer, so much of that journey was reckoning with the context of being a Buen Camino too.
Oh, that's your last name? And
it's my mom's mom's maiden name.
Buen Camino. Wait, so but how come you ended up understanding Tagalog? Does your mom speak it to you at home? Like,
phone eavesdropping.
Really?
She would talk smack on the phone. I'm like,
and then
I want to know.
You just ended up learning at home?
Yeah.
So you're pretty fluent in understanding, like majority of Tagalog?
Kind of, yeah. You know, and it's definitely like a voice that I associate with my mom too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, that's actually a good transition because I want to talk about study abroad and this last summer.
Yeah.
Right. But before that, could you do a song? Could you do the turtle song? The song that I actually heard in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Ooh, transitions.
You know, while I'm getting this over, I hope it's not too loud or anything. But I think I told you, but I haven't. This is not a song that I play a lot. And I think you definitely made like a safe space for me to like open up with it. So thank you.
Thank you. Wait. So okay, this is original, right?
Actually.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. This is the turtle song.
Wait.
Wait.
Okay, go.
Tell you a story from another life. Once upon a time we were turtles, slow moving, fast loving creatures of the earth. Took a walk down a long and lonely road. Nothing mattered, always smiles when side by side. In an act of braveness, he turned to the other, stepped out of his shell and said, slow moving, fast loving creature of the earth, please, oh please, won't you make it to the finish line with me?
Thank you. Do you have another original?
Yes. I haven't played it in so long though, so be gentle with me, yeah?
Oh, yeah. You want to do it now? You do it? Yeah, okay, go. Do original! Exclusive release song! The Filipino Garage!
Gago naman. Through the sliding glass door I can see everything, hey. The birds, the trees, the wind. Through the sliding glass door, oh, won't you open up for me? I can't touch or smell or feel, but the trees are calling my name. Oh, the breeze rushes through the leaves at the tippy tops. Sliding glass door, won't you open up for me so I can see what the world has in store for me.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Pleasure. Yeah,
we used to have a sliding glass door, but we got rid of it for safety. Because it was.
You were walking into it too much.
No. Maybe. Oh, when did you write that?
Oh, I was 17 and sad all the time.
Yeah, it does. It's like it's a happy melancholy sound.
That's my vibe.
Yeah, where it's not fully sad, not emo, like because melancholic, like there's definitely more on the side of sad, right? And then you have the Billie Eilish like that, like sad,
Those
right?
ocean eyes. It's so good. Billie Eilish is so good.
I haven't listened to a lot
She's
of her
17 and
Yeah,
she's
hella good,
bomb.
right?
Yeah.
But yours is a little to the end of like more happy tone, like a mix of that Laffy Taffy song, right? When you were singing the Turtles and this one, it sounds like that kind of vibe, like a folk acoustic kind of sound. I should ASMR me eating, because I smack a lot when I eat. My mom always tells me, stop making sounds when you eat. And I was like, oh, sorry. I just really like this crap.
It's so set up.
I know, damn. I need to try. I wonder how... I think this inspired me to do an ASMR one, but I want to make it ASMR Jollibee.
Let's go get Filipino food after this.
Yeah,
I'm craving. And then lumpia.
There's hella good Filipino spots around here.
Yeah.
But then, okay, maybe I'll do an ASMR with Jollibee. Or, yeah, Jollibee.
Ooh, halo halo would be so good because you could go. Because I mix.
That looked dirty.
Stop.
Tell me what the story behind the turtle song. Did you know turtles have nerve endings on their shells? They can feel. I saw a video today on Twitter of someone like scratching the back of a turtle, and it was like liking it. It was wagging its butt and stuff. They can
Turtles
feel.
can't wag butts.
They
What
have,
do you mean?
yeah, it was like kind of wagging its butt a little bit. But they could feel from a shell. I didn't know that. I thought it was like
A shell.
a shell.
Yeah.
Like a hermit crab, right? Where they can crawl out of it and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't even know how that works. I have to do research. But they can feel.
Yeah, no, I think that the theme of like shells and feeling trapped almost, but like protected too, seem to be kind of pervasive in things that have carried out in like my life. And I think that, and I mean, to tie it into the Philippines trip, you know, you kind of know this, but I had a hard time on that trip.
Yeah.
And as I'm reflecting and processing all of it, I think that like the practice of self-isolating was really kind of, what do you call it when it's like
Retracting into your shell?
or like
protective?
I don't know. It was just a habit that
like a defense
really,
mechanism.
Yeah, the defense mechanism that really like sent me like spiraling down. Yeah, I think yeah.
Could you actually just move to your left a little bit? Could you sit on that side of the couch so that, and then we'll
Moving all
readjust.
around.
I know.
Where, here?
Just right here. Let's see. I just want. Oh man, this is.
You want me to sit here and then point the mic? Done.
There, perfect. Okay, this is recalibrating.
30K.
30K entertainment. Man, this is why I don't have any sponsors yet, because it's.
Oh, kawawa.
No, actually, I have. I'm finding what's this called? Unofficial sponsors. What was that the first time you went back to the Philippines this last summer? No.
I went once with my family for a couple of weeks. We did like a trip in 2016, but this was so different in so many ways.
Why? What was challenging about it, if you can share? Or if you don't have to, but you could be a little broad if you want. But like, what was it about going back to the Philippines and the trip like that? And how was it for you? And just in terms of like talking about study abroad and things like that.
There's a lot. I think I'll start by saying that.
That's just to mark that you start saying.
The building's on fire. The folks who put it together are some of the most like remarkable women and leaders and teachers who I think I've encountered, and folks who I really respect and admire. So I'll preface it with that. But like I said before, everything has its kinks, and I think that it was very hard to. The nature of the trip was difficult in general, being so far away, and there was a lot of like trauma that was brought up for me personally at various moments, and the program itself was very difficult. Though I think that with what we were learning about, it had to be difficult. It was my cousin looked through the syllabus and he said, "Oh, this is really like a crash course on 300 years of suffering." And it was in a lot of cases framed as 300 years of suffering, yes, but like resilience and resistance as well. But it's inevitable that concentration of information like floods you and it overwhelms you. And processing that is a lot. It was, the embodiment of history in your ancestors and really realizing, yes, the beauty and resilience and power and strength and innovation of the people of the Philippines and of the people who came before me in the Buen Camino line, in the Cristobal line. Yeah, but also it's so sad too.
How have you, thank you for sharing, but like how do you manage your or view your mixed identity and then relate to those two histories also, but also there's a lot of shared history, right? But like, how do you situate yourself in terms of your mixedness? Because I just took a class on
mixed
people of mixed racial descent
with Greg Choi.
Yeah, with Greg Choi.
He's supervising my ethnic studies thesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it later though. But
wait, so you're doing an ethnic studies thesis and an art practice thesis? Wait, is the ethnic studies thesis an honors one?
No.
So it's just for a class, or
just because?
Oh.
Just because I wanted to tie off the ethnic studies experience off with something that felt meaningful. So I'm doing a curriculum design proposal for Ocean Vuong's work. He's a Vietnamese American poet, and like how we can reapproach our canon, our westernized canon of what we teach in the classroom, into something that young people of this America can see themselves in more. What was your previous question? The mixed,
yeah.
I think that my dad is he embodies the aftershock of war in silence, and so much of the Vietnamese history and his family lineage is in silence, and it comes across, things come out over time, and he'll share little snippets. He told me out of the blue once that he used to love writing and that he was such a good poet that his friends would hire him to write poets to the girls that they liked.
Oh, really? Damn.
Which is not something that I would have ever expected from a man who I've always seen as very stoic, I think. So I think that a part of my coming back from the trip to the Philippines was a really strong desire to understand Vietnamese history. And a lot of my practice, my art practice and what it's becoming, currently my piece for my senior project is an exploration of silence as lore, as aftershock of war, as portal, as hurt, as healing at moments. And that piece is rooted in both history, mythology, and the thriving creative spirit of those who are in the present too. So kind of history as it is, what is historical presence. So I've been, as a part of that, researching a lot of Vietnamese history and the very specific and huge intersection of the Vietnamese identity and the American identity in the Vietnam War and the history there. So in terms of my historical relationship with my Vietnamese identity, it's tip of the iceberg right now, or it's becoming. And it's at a really pivotal and rolling point. Yeah.
Were you exposed to a lot of Vietnamese culture when you were growing up? I got burps. Some more burp.
Ish, yeah. Kind of. I'd say more. My brother and I experienced a lot more warmth and familiarity with our Filipino side. So I have wonderful cousins and aunts and uncles on my Vietnamese side as well. Though I think that for many years growing up, my concept of family, when I thought of my family, I feel so awful to say this almost, but in transparency, I would consider my Filipino family, and I would at that point I still had a lot of empathy to grow for my Vietnamese side, or understanding, or closeness to develop.
Did your dad not speak Vietnamese at home?
No, he's a quiet man. His English is good, though it is kind of, he's lived here for many years now, for long enough for my brother to be 30 and for me to be 22. Though that language of, I couldn't see him doing that same kind of poetry and the love writing in English as he can in Vietnamese. And in that way, it's limited the communication in a really vital part of love and parent-child relationship.
So when you went back to the Philippines, what hit you the most was the historical trauma and that?
Partially,
learning about colonialism, or
I think also it was
If you don't,
No,
you can share as much as you want.
Is it too heavy?
No,
Too heavy.
I just
No,
I whatever you're
if my
comfortable.
face looks stressed, it's just because I'm Libra-ing and I'm trying to
I know that's that Libra thing because my face gets super furrowed whenever I'm thinking, and then I've been asked like, "Dude, are you mad?" No, I'm just thinking like that. And then some pictures, I look at myself like, "Damn, I look pissed," but I'm just thinking. I don't have an angry thought in my head. Yeah, it's just a Libra thing, maybe.
Can I read something from the journal?
Yes. So this is an entry from the Philippines.
Yeah, and it's you know how you were saying earlier about how you read back on journals and you're like, wow, so dramatic.
Yeah.
But it's like that's how it felt at that moment, you know. I don't know what's about to come out of here. So, okay, here's what I said. July 1st, 2019, a Monday. My time in the Philippines is coming to an end, and I'm sitting in Tito Noni's living room listening to Jose, my cousin, compose and play songs. He and Delphine have very beautiful and resonant voices that I won't forget anytime soon. I've been mulling over the different ways that people and families can inspire you. The children of Tita Tisha, who are immensely kind, generous, and thoughtful. Tito Noni's children for their talent in the arts, quick wit, and charm. Tito Nonong's kids for being fearlessly against the grain. I've been trying to see all of this in a lens of better understanding for my mom, but I think within this frame there has to be some unapologetic focus on myself and being gentle. How does this all inform who I am? Who will I invent myself to be? I'm continuously chewing on the idea of framing things in the future. So not only what does it mean to be a Buen Camino, but also what will my legacy as a Buen Camino Fung be? In what I change, how I cultivate my bonds. It's a culture of storytellers. It's a lineage of storytellers and characters. So not to be cliche, but what am I in all of this? And so I think that a lot of the, I fell in love with my young nephew, Javier Alfredo. I'm not sure. He's so cute. He's so bright. And he's like one of 5. 5 years old and so smart and so just quick. And then on one of my last nights there, we were driving away in the Grab. I just started crying. My poor Grab driver, ma'am, are you okay? And it was realizing I don't know when I'll get to see you. And I don't know if the next time that I come back, my Lolo will still be alive. I don't know if he'll remember. I mean, he has a very strong condition of dementia right now too. And it's like, it all feels so fleeting. And so much of my time in the Philippines, I was missing my life here so much. I was missing like Sunday afternoons, like sitting next to my dad while he just like naps in the middle of the day with like the TV left on and football playing. And to be leaving and finally like, yes, I get to go home to that. I get to hug my mom and like squish her little cheeks together. But also realizing now that I had so much love there too. Like, how do I say goodbye to this little boy who I love, and how do I explain? I don't know when I'm gonna come back. And maybe it's not an explanation that he needs. Maybe it's an explanation that like I need. And it felt like my heart was being spread so thin. And I remember my mom called me one day, and for magically the connection at the UP hotel was strong enough to support the call.
That one time.
And I was telling her that like I was really transparent about, you know, it's been really hard. And it hurt me so much to tell her about like how much I was missing home and how much I didn't want to leave, because it's like the epitome of preaching to the choir, right? Like, she left behind all of this people and a whole life in the Philippines, you know? And like, I felt just this much of that, and it was so overwhelming. And I think that was a really difficult part, to know that and feel that from my mom and my dad. I mean, yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I don't have
No, it's okay. I'll blink. Sorry, hala kawawa.
No, I'm seeing it. I think it's. Do you consider yourself like an empath? Like, you're very empathetic in that thing that people like using that new buzzword. I'm an empath.
I haven't heard that. Do people say that to you a lot? With that face, I'm an empath.
I'm an empath.
Oh no.
It just means I'm really in tune with people's emotions. No, but I'm making fun of it. But some people, even me, I would say that I'm an empath on some levels, right? So I'm a selective empath. Like, where you kind of take on, or you're really trying to step into a person's shoes. And then I think from what you're saying, how you're framing things, right, and the experience with your mama, is that moved you a lot because you're trying to understand her moving away, and then the impact, the importance of it, because of seeing what she left behind, and then seeing the beauty of it, but then like juxtaposing that with like why did you leave, and then realizing a whole host of history, motivations, push-pull factors that made her decide to leave, right? Leave all this good behind. Not that it's a bad thing, right? But there was a decision made, right? So it sounds like that's what your personality is, in this little empath counselor type thing, right? But is that what kind of moved you? Is that what you're saying?
One of the things. There's just so much. There was so much.
Dang it, of course, this is also your second time. Just your second time in the Philippines. Maybe, and that's what it makes me think, like, maybe it's just that I was born there, right? And then I've gone every year, and then I'm like, okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's like, okay, love you, bye-bye. Like, I'm used to saying bye, like, to people I love, right? My dad, my brother is there, and nephews and stuff, because
Balikbayan life.
yeah, because I think there's an understanding that I will be back, right? Sometimes I don't know when it will be, but I've been blessed that I've been able to find ways to go back consistently these last few years, right? But there were moments where it was like multiple years when we wouldn't go back like that. But it makes me realize, damn, yeah. I guess it's hard for me to understand that feeling, and I'm trying to empath into you, right? To see, I wonder what it felt like to do this whole study abroad thing, where the content of the classes are heavy, right? Historically, academically heavy, violence, and in terms of the history of the Philippines, and also the jump into meeting family and falling in love with family for like the second time, right? And then how that's kind of piling onto each other.
Yeah, and with the position, like learning about these like histories from the people who are at the forefront of their fields and having that privilege, but also being in the position of an American student and leaving, and that's a different kind of goodbye. I think it's kind of a, we were being introduced to all of these different organizing groups doing incredible work, and you want to keep following through with that or doing something to like facilitate a solidarity, but there's just so much coming at you, and it's like, I don't know how to turn this into something meaningful, for lack of a better word, other than like absorbing what you say. And I mean that's kind of a different discussion of how you can really be a part of like a movement and like join with people to do something. But it was overwhelming in that way too. It's like, man.
I think that's super natural to feel, right? That question of like, then what, right? Because that's you jutting up against your privilege. And the privilege is that we are privileged that we visit these communities, see the rural areas or see the issues and see poverty, but we're privileged enough to leave poverty, right? Somebody else said that. I forgot who said that. I have a lot of good quotes, but I forget who says this. So we are privileged that we are able to leave, right? Leave the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
And to be transparent, though, like there are issues here in the U.S. There's a lot of us are low income, right? There's folks like who go through issues here in the U.S., working class, but we're able to leave and come back to the U.S., right? And that in itself is a privilege. But that feeling of then what now and how can you contribute to the movement or do good, right, is very natural to feel, because a lot of people who go on what they call exposure trips to like rural community areas and stuff, that's their question. Once they come back, then what now? And I think that's a very important question that we should be asking ourselves as Filipino Americans, as people who are able to visit but then also leave, right? And what's dope is there's a lot of people doing good work, right? And I think we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? We can like add on to the wheel, find what wheel you want to ride on, and you don't even have to ride everybody's wheel. Right, that's the beautiful part of it, I think, because even for me, when I first went on trips to these communities, I was also like, I don't know what to do. And then on some aspects, maybe I didn't feel comfortable doing one type of activism or one type of political advocacy, right? By like this other thing. Or I felt more comfortable doing another form of advocacy, and then realizing, okay, we can also acknowledge and validate that those forms of contribution is just as important. The alternative ways of support is just as important as the rah-rah, like I'm super militant political activist, right? Not everybody has to be like that. But I think that has, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, especially with woke Twitter culture, there's a certain amount of glorification of the rah-rah activist, right? Not saying that that's bad.
Yeah,
like,
but all facets are necessary.
Yeah, but it's also necessary to acknowledge that there are other ways to support and to find what is personally relevant is super important, I think. Because like that, you can edit videos, you can...
It's just so close to my face. I just want to like snuggle with it.
Still, and the foam.
Yeah.
It's like... Good thing it's not
sniff
stinky.
it? Oh.
Because usually...
What else are you using these for?
Usually in studios,
Like,
these build up.
Yeah.
Like, and get stinky. I've been in some studios. ASMR. See, that's my stuffy nose though. You can hear it.
me too. I think it's just dusty in here because I stuffed up when I walked in.
Really? Oh shit. Maybe it's a little dusty.
Asbestos. JK.
I hope not.
Filipino Garage, welcome.
Hey, that's why we need some sponsors. I have an air filter here. I do use it though, but not recently. So. maybe it is dirty. I'd be vacuuming though, but that's a reality. In a few years, give me maybe I envision in
30K.
2.5 years or so, like a good, like I'll have a location like to like record full on and everything.
But it still has to be Filipino garage.
Yeah, it's still the Filipino garage. Still rooted in that.
It's just a different garage.
Maybe a nice garage. We're gonna say right. My parking will be a big parking lot, right? And then you go into the garage. But
Beverly Hills garage.
Yes. Like if you look at Jay Leno's garage, right? He has that show. I think it's Jay Leno. There's a show, Coffee and Comedians. Or Coffee and Cars, or Comedians Cars, whatever.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, sorry. But Jay Leno, right, has cars too, right?
Probably.
I think he does something with cars too. But anyway.
How did we get here?
He has a really nice garage. So it's still a garage, right? So that'll be the Filipino garage in the future. I want to up it. Do you have another song?
Yeah, and I was thinking.
I know, I'm just doing it ASMR now.
Oh,
You should do Valerie.
Will you do it with me?
What, play the ukulele thing?
Yeah, do you have it accessible?
Yeah. Oh, I have one right there. Oh.
Yeah, end on a happy note, yeah?
So we did.
Are you wearing pants?
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I
just shorts.
I have shorts.
Just dressed from the waist up.
Just for the podcast. Yeah. Okay, so this was actually our what's this called? We would jam out sometimes in the Philippines because
and those jam sessions were so special to me.
Yeah,
like that was.
They're super healing. Like I really feel jam sessions, especially when I get to listen to people who are good singers. Like it's dope. That's why I'll always have Gabby sing. I was like, Gabby, sing. Like I'll just go. Shout out Gabby. I'd go over to her room, bring the guitar sometimes, and be like, yo, can you just sing real quick? And then like there's something healing about music. I actually wanted to do music therapy for a little bit.
Me too. Yeah.
There's a music therapy spot in Berkeley. Do you know?
I did it for a while at Sutter Hospital.
What? You facilitated it?
Yes, but I didn't have like a license for it. But
did they pay you?
No. It was an internship. Internship. It was hard. It was like with the kids and what is it? It was pediatric. It was pediatric and with the kids who had cancer and like a lot of them, a lot of them would pass. So it was hard.
But it was Sutter where?
In Sacramento.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Shout out. I want to get a job at shout out if anybody has job openings, UCSF, any connects.
True.
I want to do some music therapy, recording something at UCSF.
Yeah.
And then get some of that health insurance. Because after graduation, are you on SHIP?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. If you, what's this called?
Oh, you're old too. You don't have you can't.
Yes, yes. I couldn't be on my parents' insurance. Oh, are you on your parents' insurance?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was on SHIP when I was at Cal, and then which was good actually. It's fine. And then, but after you graduate, it cuts off after like 3 weeks. So I was naked with insurance. I felt naked in terms of insurance. I'm dirty. No PPO.
Who's that? Do you know Jabuki, that comedian?
No.
He's a millennial comedian, and he's always making jokes about. I know. He's always making jokes. He writes for Trevor Noah too. But he was always making jokes about like how what a concept it is to have affordable healthcare and like I don't know. It's much funnier when he says
Okay, let's pause real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna set up the ukulele.
Are you plugging it in?
Yeah.
Restaurants that are in the pocket of the police are allowed to stay open, right? So then we were looking for food far away, or food late at night, my cousin and I. And then we went to this place and they didn't even have food. Like they were just selling the balloons, you know?
Balloons?
You know how they do the party drug in Vietnam is the balloons?
No, I don't know
that.
I didn't
it's
do
kind of
that
like a
party
whippet.
drug.
What is the drug in whippets again?
Whip it? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't
Oh, he's pure.
I don't do that.
But like we were just trying to get food, and then the police officers came out of nowhere, and then they just like walked in and like took a bunch of the balloons and like left.
Oh, they
It
took
was
the
just,
drugs?
Like, yeah, it was like super shady.
Damn, they did drugs?
I hope Vietnam doesn't come for me.
Oh my god. I hope so too. Yeah. So you're going to do Valerie for us? I have yet to play this.
Yeah, we'll feel it out.
Feel it
We'll
out.
wing it.
Whoa, damn, I'm a one-man audio engineer, video guy, host.
Did you hit record?
Yes,
Okay.
I think I'm recording. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3.
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water. Wait. And I think of all the things, what you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. 'Cause since I came home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. Did you have to go to jail? Put your house on up for sale? Did you get a good lawyer? I hope you didn't catch a tan. I hope you'll find the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? And did you have to pay that fine? You were dodging all the time, or you still dizzy? 'Cause since I come on home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things, what you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. 'Cause since I come on home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, 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 ooh, Valerie.
hope that came out clean, because my thing be sounding a little funky. My ukulele has that little. You hear that?
It's got like a
little pop. I don't know where that's coming from. If it's like the thing.
Is your ring hitting it?
No.
Bracelet?
It might be the. Or it's like maybe it's like low battery in this. No, I don't know. Oh, I'll just edit it, and I'll be making it like this, like. You know what? I actually used the ukulele for this one song that I recorded, and I ran it through some amps and distortion, and it sounds dope.
Yeah.
It sounds like, because it was like more of like a rock inspired song that I did one, and then it sounded dope. So we'll see how this one turns out.
Nice.
Thanks for doing that. So when did you start singing and stuff?
Wait, what conversation were we having before this?
I don't know. Something about before our song break. I don't know, but immediately right before singing, we were talking about Vietnam.
Yeah.
You did a Southeast Asia trip, right?
I did Hanoi for a couple of days, but I was having such a hard time at that point in the trip that I...
Wait, was this before or after Philippines?
During Philippines.
Oh, you took a...
I was having a hard time.
No, you went to Hanoi during the Philippines?
No, after.
Oh, okay.
But it was, yeah.
So...
It was low-key, though.
What do you mean?
Kasi I was so, like, depressed at that point. Yeah.
Like even in Hanoi?
Yeah, I think I was burned out, overwhelmed. And I don't mean to make it sound like it was this terrible, awful experience. I really don't. But it definitely, there are a lot of parts of it that I'm still kind of processing too.
You know, it's funny why I'm laughing, because I remembered also, one of my goals this is a report on study abroad, right? And like, because...
Is it really?
Yeah, because so I got the scholarship called the Gilman Scholarship for study abroad.
Oh,
Gilman Scholarship are
why
these
didn't you tell
study abroad programs, right? And then one of the things that and it was cool because that basically paid for my ticket back to the Philippines this last summer, right? But you have to do follow-up projects from your trip. And so one of my follow-up projects is to do like interviews, podcasts with folks who went on study abroad, and like, what was your experience? What did you get out of it? Right? Things like that. And that's why I had the homie Josh, right? And then we talked a lot about study abroad, and then what he got out of it from his perspective of somebody who was born in the Philippines, then went back to the Philippines to study, and then this navigation, once again, a privilege of what does it mean now that I'm here, I'm there, and he has family there, and then like back and forth, and what it means now, right? But it's not bad that you're being. I'd much rather have someone be honest about their experience in terms of study of like this experience overall, and so people
to clarify. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but you did. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
No. Just to be honest, there you go. I'd much rather have, like, you can tell me whatever, as long as it's honest, and that's fine.
Though I think that, we have this, I don't know, part of, like, the Eurocentric learning that we have is that study abroad. If you do a study abroad program, it should be something that's like, you go to Europe, you go to France, you see the Eiffel Tower, and you have this beautiful, flawless time, and though this experience was very difficult for me, and is kind of coming up in what do you call it? Like in the re-entry process, which it's been a few months now, but it's an ongoing process, and it kind of comes in waves where certain things will hit me at moments. And I think that will continue to happen throughout the rest of my life. Though I think that that's not a negative thing. I don't think that it's a bad thing that I had a hard time on the trip. I think that in that way, it's pushing me to these levels of discomfort, of depression, of dissonance within myself that, you know, were in there. They were in me and in my ancestors, and in my community too. So I think that it's necessary to, I almost think that I would feel more strange if I didn't feel it so viscerally and so deeply. Yeah. So in what?
What do you think? You said it's a combination of things, right, that made it hard. Could we line that up? Like, was it, you said, just to like kind of re-summarize in my head, it was the historical like facts, right? There was heavy content, but then it was also like family and like seeing how you situate yourself within your own family's history, right? And then how that's making you, was it more so on a personal introspective, or like it was heavy because of what you were thinking about your mom? Like, what was it?
In a lot of ways. And you did a really great job of you out therapist. Wow.
Welcome to the Filipino Garage therapy session.
You know, it's a lot of things. It's things that are quantifiable and things that you can express in words and list out, and that, you know, in the pages of this and in other places too, I've tried to sort. And I think that there is, you know, in the abstract, like a weight on the spirit and a tugging on the spirit. And I know that is very kind of abstract, like I said, but it's just something like in you, you know, it's a soul.
If it was heavy, right, did you get something out of it? Like, what did you, if we could like qualify it, what did you get out of the study abroad trip experience, even if a lot of it was challenging?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, that challenge and that confrontation with all the things that are hurting me is a part of a greater healing process that I wouldn't have, which is a journey that I don't know if I would have begun without the program or without, I don't know, I can't see myself in this kind of context where I'm visiting on my own, for one, like it's in terms of my family, like my parents weren't and my brother weren't there, in an academic context, in which entails like classrooms, professors, but also going into communities and speaking with folks who are doing like organizing and activist work. So it was just immensely unique in that way. And the problem with being, or the nature of it, of like being overwhelmed, I think just means that it's going to take some time to unpack the little bits of it, whether it was in the things that you recounted and what I was reflecting on, or, you know, very specific things in my family narrative too, that I had to face head on and reconcile. So it's a mix. It's a hollow of things.
Now loading. It's still
now it's a bit of buffering, yeah.
Buffering.
I think it always will be too. You know?
It's a process of buffering. I think that's a good metaphor, though. We've been talking about that, where it's not fixed, right? Experiences are part of the process.
Yeah.
Of like the storyline.
Yeah, and man, this is someone Instagram storied this, but it was like, you don't have to wait for closure to begin your healing, you know. And I think that, you know, in the context of this very like the history of like the martial law, the narrative of the comfort woman that we heard, you know, there's not really a way to get closure on that. But, you know, and I understand like the amount of privilege that I'm coming from in like processing those things, where it's like I feel it, I didn't experience it presently, but like I still like I feel it in me, and it's like Sorry,
No,
do I sound like a douche?
No,
like, is that
no. Because I want to ask, like, how? Not that I'm questioning that you feel it, right? But devil's advocate in a way, right? Like, why would you feel like why does it move you in the sense if this is just historical, right?
Well, I think
and let me preface this. I'm not disagreeing because I'm Mr. Ethnic Studies. Look what happened in 1521, right? So I know, but let me get into that line of questioning, like why and how is that affecting you? Like why is it affecting you if it's, hey, we could say, or people who dismiss it will say, oi, that's the past. That's okay, that's in a book, but so what? Right?
Well, for me personally, I think I have like multiple answers to this, but for one, being Filipina to me, for a large part of that is in the abstract, and it's something that to feel whole in the identity, I've had to just be at peace with it being something inside me that I can trust and that is there and present. So I think that in that specific way, it's been a lifetime of a practice of believing in the spirit of like my ancestry, because like in a lot of ways, in being mixed ethnicity too, it's like, you know, that qualm of, am I Filipina enough? Am I American enough? Am I Vietnamese enough? So that's just kind of something that I've had to harbor within myself and foster. So I think that in that way and in that like recognition of that facet of my spirit, I think that that's why I feel like the visceral nature of it in the abstract. So that's one thing. And I mean, in what you're saying about, you know, people who are saying, well, that's in the past, why do we have to talk about it? It's because it's part of the history, the historical present. Like it lives on in different ways and in different manifestations and in different kinds of policy and violences that are enacted. To stop talking about it is, again, the aftershock, the way that silence is an aftershock of war and violence, you know, and how those cycles keep going.
Do you feel, learning about those things, do you feel that there's a burden on you? Or do you feel that there's a weight on you of any kind? Or like...
In terms of responsibility, in terms of accountability, or what?
Anything,
what
any. It's a little abstract when I'm asking, but I'm trying to see or get words to frame like how come it's been so impactful for you. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd like to see like, oh, I wonder why you are moved so much about these things, right? Like what about it? What does it spark in you, right? Like is it more the empathy of the pain of it? Is it more on the realization that this is your history in a sense of like, damn, there's some violence in our history of the Philippines, right? Or is it also like, oh, I gotta do something like with it, and that's almost, is that weight overwhelming? Like the almost responsibility, like I have to do something, right? And then that's a burden or that's a weight to carry. What is it?
Well, I think it's not an or for any of those. It's a and as I...
So all of those are correct.
They're correct, but at the same time, they're just the tip of the iceberg, I think. And I think that words can only do that much. Well, wait, backtrack. Words are very powerful. You know, like we said, talking about it is important and is an essential part of breaking a cycle of like a species-wide epidemic of violence and war. So we have to talk about it, but at the same time, there's just, I feel so like saying, you know, spirit and soul, but like that quiet healing, you know, silence as both, you know, silence as violence, but also silence as healing. Like it can really go both ways. So in those moments where you need to just and like sit with it, that's part of the process too. So yes, like everything that you named in very like generously precise terms, like yes, that is how it feels. Yes, and the yes and still keep going. Buffering.
Have you incorporated any of these experiences into your art moving forward from the summer?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier the piece that I'm working on about like silence, but also the Vietnamese identity and the different intersections of history and mythology. Your chankla. Is in a way like it connects. I think it's absolutely like entangled.
Could we bust out your portfolio and like see some of the art stuff, and so we can have like a like little context of what creations you've done, like what your other medium is, and we'll try to kind of describe it auditorily for the people who are just listening through audio, but also what's this called? Put up pictures of it on the video edition. So like, what's your medium? Give us an insight on who you are as an art practitioner.
So I actually am in the process of kind of reshaping that. I think that part of who I am, like I hate to be the person who's like, I went on a study abroad and I changed as a person. But like it did happen. And subsequently, like the work that I'm making has really shifted as well. Here, wait, hold on. Let me pull up my...
And because you're now doing congratulations, an arts practice honor thesis kind of thing. You were picked to be one out of 9 folks doing a art honors thing this year. And then, so congratulations. AMSR claps.
Oh, it sounds gross.
Damn, mine doesn't. Man, this is gonna be such a gross.
This is. Yeah, I can.
Damn, I should ASMR some stuff.
So, I'm reading over some of my like updated artist statement, which has been like a really good guiding point in like the direction for the work. I'll just read some of it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I find mythology and history fascinating and simultaneously reject the notion that these entities are monolithic.
Wait, say again. Mythology and what?
Mythology and history.
Mythology and history.
So looking at those as not monolithic entities that just are, you know. Okay. They're socially constructed, you know. Okay. Using the stories inherited from both my ancestors and textbooks, I recast narratives in hopes of coloring in silence. My Filipina Vietnamese Buen Camino Phuong lineage is a conduit for the creative practice of optimistic survival, or thrival. Through a lifetime of graceful fumblings with epigenetic trauma, I've also found entanglements across geopolitical borders and eras in reckoning with our species-wide epidemic of violence. I build, collect, and archive to envision a potential futurity of cohesion and sensibilities towards human flourishing. Through a simultaneous engagement with both pluralistic voices and specificity, I often oscillate in art forms with a visual and auditory tendency guided by opalescence.
Opalescence. What does that mean?
So opal, like the gem, you look at it and in every different like inflection of light that it takes in, it reflects like a different facet of its color.
Oh,
yeah.
Opalescence.
My sculptural and installation pieces include participatory elements, and my surreal staged photo and moving image take perspective of an imagined transcendental observer, creating images that are meant to convey a feeling of apathetic chaos that mimic the subtle violence of identity abstraction into a farcical national symbolic. The work in progress is experimental theater and ensemble movement, through which my collaborators and I sort through the cacophony of noise of our present through sound, music, and story. My recent work looks at silences as they manifest locally and globally. For example, silence as lore, silence as embodied aftershock of war, silence, dissonance, and harmony as frameworks for understanding and being, and silence as portal.
Damn! We should just do a whole podcast of silence.
With the occasional... So yeah, that's...
Damn, that was beautiful. It was both like academic and poetic. Like when you... That's why I had to like kind of close my eyes and listen and focus, right? Because there's a rhythm of art in there and like how you can construct words to like paint a picture. Then there's also a certain amount of academia in there.
Which is a hard thing because it almost, you know... They tell you as you're writing these things to like just be honest to your voice and be true to yourself. And I sometimes worry that like that academic perspective and the language and frameworks that I have now like what I'm trying to say and the work that I'm trying to do inaccessible. And I don't want that. But also it's kind of like this academia that's been, you know, that's... You know, the environment that we're learning and growing in, and subsequently a lot of that language becomes just a part of the voice. So that's kind of an interesting way that the university and the institution and these structures of power just really like you internalize. Yeah. Because
isn't even art within the academe like a very
that's a whole other
like
podcast.
The whole art market, right? Is very
through like a capitalistic lens of like, you know, monetary value in art, but also there's so many politics behind the art world. Art world.
I'm happy for my homie David Choi, where he got hella bank. Isn't he one of the highest paid?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, whatever happened to Ryan Higa?
From his Niga Higa?
Yeah, like what is he still?
I'm like, is that offensive?
I know, it's like, can I still say that in 2019? Maybe that's why people like stop being able to say the channel names.
Yeah, it's like Niga Higa. Okay, so some of your work. Okay, this is... Whoa, Berkeley Bulol. Oh, interesting. Did you make this?
That was a wood carving piece.
So damn, okay, this is a wood carving.
That was during the...
December 2018.
December 2018 when the cities were covered in smoke because of the fires. So, you know, the lore of the Bulol, and hopefully I don't totally botch this, but... in the way that I understand it, it's that they would look over the land. They were placed to look over the land. And typically in pairs as well. So part of the installation was the carved like wooden bulol from wood that was from Berkeley, and placing it. And then there was a projection of the like a very hazy Albany sunset, and then the audience member was invited to sit down next to the bulol in the same position of it, and just like really sit in that moment and be present and really kind of take their perspective.
Damn, it's cool. Have you done? Damn, this bulol
do you know Fanua?
Ear piercing, yeah.
Fanua has that. I think that piece is now in his Lola's house. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. It's red wood. What kind of wood is this? How come it's pinkish?
When you freshly carve wood, it is red. It's like it bleeds. I mean, it doesn't actually bleed, but that's how I see it. It's like the flesh of it. So as you carve it, then it is red, freshly carved, and then it'll gradually change color as it oxidizes.
And then how long did this take you?
I don't know. It was a lot of energy, a lot of love went into it.
It's cool. So Okay. Next we have.
Is it pollination next?
No, wait. Am I supposed to scroll down?
Wait, I think there was.
Pollination was supposed to be the first one, but then it doesn't load. Or is that the video?
Oh, it's video. Well, pollination was 402 plaster fingers that were cast, and that was during the time of the. What is his name? The trial. The Supreme Court.
The assault dude, who's now Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh trial.
Yeah.
So this was 402 plaster white fingers that had the instruction with them: take a finger and place it somewhere it does not belong. So the installation was all of these white fingers just kind of splayed out like that, as you can probably see in the video, and there was a digital component to it. So at the bottom of each of the fingers, it links you to an Instagram page where you see where they're sourced from, and people can take them and put them in different places. And this was interpreted like they made their way all the way to different states, and then some of them put them, like, interpreted it in a very, like, bodily way. So they were putting them in, like, noses and ears and mouths. Yeah. And I hope that that's all of the orifices that they entered. But so it was this idea of like intrusion and bodily form and color and dissemination and all.
What was underneath? Sorry.
It was a link that brought you to the Instagram page where you could submit the photos and see the other photos of where they ended up.
Where they've been.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there's 400 of them, and so now whenever I go places, I like leave some, and then some folks who know about the project.
What's the hashtag? And then do you still update the page?
Sometimes,
with submissions, and people still submit like, look where it's at.
Yeah. It's like pollination, but with a bunch of underscores so that I could get the username, you know? But yeah. So that was...
interesting. Here, unlock.
Sorry.
That's cool.
Remember when...
It's also, you see how it's hard to actually have a podcast about visual physical art, right?
Yeah.
It's cool to hear the thought process and stuff, but it's a different level of communication that is required to describe it versus singing or versus having someone perform a poem, right? So I'll post this up at least just to kind of to accompany. And are these all your pictures? Yeah,
those are some of my surreal staged photos.
So what's surreal stage photo art?
Right. That? So it's...
Is it like where it's really real? It's so real.
It's so real.
Wow. This is not digital. It's so real.
Oh my God. Wow. Surreal is fantasy. It's hyper fantastical. I think like Asian American futurism is kind of a rising aesthetic, and I really feel
Asian American futurism.
Right.
Oh, that's that style. That's the fashion that's coming out of like Hong Kong.
No. It's more in a line with like Afrofuturism, I'd say, as far as aesthetic goes and sentiment.
What does futurism mean? Is that
Afrofuturism
like technology?
Is like, it kind of places, so Afrofuturism specifically places people of African descent, Black folks, in terms of like a sci-fi context almost. So I would say, sorry to bother you. Have you seen that film?
No, I've heard it.
There are elements of it that get Afrofuturistic in the sci-fi.
I'm not that bothered. Okay.
Corny. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that Asian American futurism also it acts in a similar spirit, where it places folks who are, of Asian American identity who are pigeonholed into like model minority myth or other stereotypes, and kind of subverts that in placing them in these like fantastical and sci-fi or alien or futuristic settings, therefore like expanding the imagination, like the brown imagination. black or brown imagination. Yeah.
That's like all the anime. Would that be futurism? Because a lot of them are like in the future.
Sure. Yeah.
And tech and stuff.
Sure.
No.
But it's just kind of like a genre of very vibrant colors, kind of sci-fi elements.
Purples, a lot of purples.
Purples. Sure.
I think because I'm thinking of the aesthetics that kind of with who her face uses it a lot. Janae Monáe. Yeah, she uses that. And there's another one, the one that did the robot stuff, or I think that's the Janae. Yeah, is that?
Sure.
Yeah, she did the robot stuff. Oh, okay, I don't know. Here, could you reopen? And then there was improprieties.
Yeah. And that was a large spray can piece, like probably about 5 feet tall. And it was kind of a commentary on graffiti and street art. Oops, sorry, ukulele.
Wait, this
was
one?
falling.
This thing?
Yeah. So that's like as tall as I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
damn.
Like you'll see on the outside, like externally, there's a lot of like graffiti elements and references to, an era when hip hop culture was coming to fruition in the Bronx in the 70s.
So you had people paint on it?
So people can tag it. They're invited to tag it. Yeah. And then on the inside, to juxtapose a very like hard, it was plaster and metal. So to juxtapose a very like hard exterior and something very like physically hard, there's very soft interiors to reflect, that a lot of these taggings and graffiti and street art were part of a larger history of reclamation of homes and like a response to gentrification, and the softness of the homes in the Bronx being bulldozed and buildings being torn down in place of in pursuit of like a gentrified neighborhood.
What do you see? How do you see art, at least in this form, these that you have presented to me, as kind of who's it in conversation with, and who are you trying to talk to, reach out to, like impress ideas on, and how are they to consume this? Like, how are they to understand?
I think the interesting thing about sculpture is that it inherently, in most cases, takes space. And I think that taking physical space can often be a prompt for the kind of metaphoric and like emotional, intellectual space that might follow suit. So I think that my hope for like the installation and the sculptural pieces were that it would just create a space to have conversation. I think that in some ways they do take a perspective and a positionality, but also I think that for folks to engage with it, and that's kind of the draw to the participatory element in them, and the audience involvement and movement in them, is that in the motion and the movement, for example, as you're holding up a Sharpie next to a sculpture, you're, for one thing, kind of dismantling this idea of like, art in like in a gallery, in something like shouldn't be touched. It should be a pristine object. So in that way, you're shifting. Like I hope to shift that perspective. And another thing, as people are joining to do that and make their own impression on the work, they are having a space to reflect, whether that is internally or to speak about it with someone else who just happens to be tagging it at the same time, so things like that. And then I think with the photos, that's more of a visual experience, and a lot of what we see, and it's not news that unlock. Yeah. A lot of what we see in media is how we are able to envision ourselves. That's why having Barbies of color, for example, is valued in the society, because young people should see like Barbies or other characters that look like them in different roles than a stereotype, an outdated stereotype that doesn't really suit anyone who exists a very complicated and complex life, you know? So I think that part of this like Asian American futurism aesthetic or experimental video or staged photo, surreal photo, is placing most of the time my own body into the work and reframing it. So,
tell me about Playtime. What is this?
What's that one again?
It has the titty in the front.
It has the titties. That one is that was all photos of or clippings from like an old school Playboy magazine that's just kind of like gussied up like, oh yeah, it's just a foofy porn magazine, but it was literally all white women, and it was the only images were of people of color in it, whether like black or brown people of color, were these like caricatures of Asian women who were in like the Chinese kind of fetish wear, or the Chinese traditional wear that had been fetishized by whoever had staged those photos or taken them.
Damn.
Yeah, and it was done on glass panels that were very fragile, and I guess kind of with like white paint splatters that reference like a white fragility, but also like a very like semen. So,
whoa,
sorry.
you're good.
PG-13.
Look at this one.
What?
Spring My Love. Oh, you're actually good. See?
Why you sound surprised, boy?
Because you never post like art, you never post any of that stuff or really talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Shy.
Wow, you're actually... Damn. Pointillism. This is... Okay. Did you apply to art transferring into Cal? Like, did you have to submit a portrait?
You have
a portfolio?
to. I applied into the program when I was at Cal already.
Oh, damn! So you found it.
Yeah.
Oh, how's the what's this called? How was the transition into Cal? Let's go. Let's kind of shift.
Okay.
How was the transfer life experience? And then what's up with it? Like you found your roommate during transfer weekend,
Liz,
right?
yo, shout out to Liz. I miss you, Liz. We lived together for 2.5 years too.
How did y'all meet?
Transfer weekend, yeah.
That day.
Yeah, that day. Then the rest is history.
Did y'all meet at the pass thing? No.
I can't remember.
Okay.
There was one of those events. Those Bridges events were so good, but there was so much happening and so many people that you meet that it's kind of, especially as time passes, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
I definitely value a lot of those friendships that have really like flourished to things like this, or living with someone for 2.5 years, or even just seeing someone in passing, like, hey, we met at transfer weekend 3 years ago, and having those moments. So, but definitely like my memory is a little foggy about the specifics. The transition was hard at first, overwhelming, but I am able to, for example, Greg Choi, for example, just stop by in on his office hours whenever to talk about like what I'm working on or different ideas or different kinds of art, and have him just like be able to bounce with me like from connection to connection and really like know. And I have folks who I can walk. Sometimes when I'm sad, I just like wander the halls of the art department until I find like an energy that really pulls me in. I was walking, I felt kind of like fatigued yesterday, and then I was walking and I saw my friend Kia, who's a fabulous artist as well, and like a photographer and also like a digital illustrator who's working on a mural project. And I was like, hey, can I help you paint your mural? So it's just kind of things like that where I feel, again, I'm always still in progress, but I feel as though there is more of a secure foundation in sincerity, in bravery, in kindness that I have that will allow me to branch off. Like, I'm not scared to graduate, but I feel a natural apprehension about it, right? And I lost my train of thought. But I feel like I'm ready too, you know. Like change is coming, but
change is coming.
Yeah, it'll be uncomfortable, but good.
Yo, it's been weird just being out of school, like where there's no structure, right? Because I was so busy last semester where I had days where I was just 9 to 9, right? Like, and meeting after meeting, I'm next, and now I'm like, oh damn, I don't have that, right? And I kind of miss the structure, and it's kind of different. It was hard at first, like the first month, like being back here in the U.S. Because we had family things as well, and transition back here to Daly City. But then, for example, right now I'm doing my own projects where it's music, but also I'm trying to start up a social enterprise foundation for the Philippines, right? But then that's all self-directed, right? So it's a whole new kind of path of deciding what tasks to do, setting the deadlines, creating the timeline of reaching out to specific people, even running this podcast of like scheduling people, giving all the logistics and getting the next one and mixing all that, right? But it's all time consuming, but also no one's telling me to do this. It's not part of my internship. It's not part of my position at an organization like that. So it's all self-responsibility. And I'm like, damn, if I did not have goals and stuff, my normal characteristic would be to just chill out, watch Netflix, play games. That's me relaxing, right? And of course I still do that. I'm not gonna lie that I don't chill and watch. I've been watching hella episodes of That 70s Show. I'm
really? You're at That 70s Show guy?
Yeah, I'm caught up to like the season 3, I think. I think I like all the friend type things because I don't have friends. No, I'm just kidding. I do have friends, but I like the shows that are like a group of friends. Like Friends, Entourage. Have you ever heard of Entourage?
Yeah, that's an intense friend group, though.
Yeah, it's not too intense, but they say it was like the dude's friends. It's like that.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. I watched all of that, and then That 70s Show. Oh, I just realized. Yeah, I like those types of shows because I think it's not just focused on one person. Like you have the kind of leads, like it's mainly about them. Like That 70s Show, it's at the foreman's house, right? But then you can follow different threads of like you have different characters and what's going on in their life, different personalities of they'll do this, they'll usually do that, right? And Entourage and Friends, they all have How I Met Your Mother, they have their own idiosyncrasies. And I kind of like that. But to be honest, it's also a distraction. It's also just like, or The Office, right? Where you have a wide range of people, right? So you're not bored by something. Damn, I've also watched The Office like 4 times at least. Like all of the seasons, like from first to back, like watched it and then I'll start again. Maybe in like 2-3 years I'll start watching it.
It's kind of comforting too.
Yeah, it's comforting. I'll just put it on. Sometimes I just like putting it on while I'm doing busy work, right? Shit that doesn't even require that much of mental capacity to process. If it's like putting paperwork into my folders, whatever, right? And then I just like having it on. But anyway, things like that distracts me from the things I have to do. Like you see on the board, like, about the projects that I have to get done. And then it's a different flow from either being in a 9-to-5 or being at school.
Do you feel siloed at times?
Yes, that's why I'm consistently trying to reach out to folks, specifically here in Daly City, that is in alignment with my work. So I've been, there's a social enterprise that I'm working with right now, and then they're doing their submissions, paperwork, funding, things like that. I'm trying to support that, and then I'm consistently trying to find the other artists, the other creatives, entrepreneurs out here in Daly City, because that's my next project. So I have a project going on, but it's so different from the structured life that's at Cal, right? Where like, oh, we have this, we have past, we have this history. There's people working, and the proximity to people in terms of you're all working towards a certain task. Yeah, airplane. But yeah, so that's been a transition, and I've only been back, like, this is my second month back here into the flow thing since I was in the Philippines for like 3 months or so. So it's I'm in this weird little limbo, and I'm actually leaving for the Philippines again for the
really?
November, and then for my other Lola's birthday. And just celebration and things like that. So I'm in this weird little everywhere, but it's cool. I'm grateful for the time I had at Cal. I'm glad to be done, but I also miss it in certain aspects of it, and I appreciate it, right? And now I'm trying to find ways to build similar structures in my own life that mimic the positive aspects of the things I've experienced at Cal, but what is now in alignment with my trajectory, if that makes sense, right? Like I just miss, like, even working as an RA, and then I'd go to my other RA's room, hello, like, just to hang out, just like, what's going on? And then if I'm feeling antisocial, I'm just like go to my room and I'm just chilling there, but then I'll be able to walk outside, and there's things like that. Here, very suburbs, you gotta drive everywhere, like, even to go to an hour and a half meeting, now I have to schedule maybe like 2.5 hours because there's travel, parking, like transition time, versus I would line up meeting after meeting over at Cal because it's just, you have that 10-minute transition, things like that. So it's a weird thing, but I'm grateful to be done. But at the same time, I want to make sure I'm as busy / productive in a good way that I was at certain times during last semester, right? So I'm not, wasting time, quote, with the freedom. But shit, I've watched a lot of That 70s Show episodes, and it's easy to get hooked because it's only 20-minute episodes. So it's short. It's like, I got 20 minutes. Who doesn't have 20 minutes?
And the Netflix autoplay too.
And then you're like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, one more. Then you're like, whoa, that was 40 minutes. And then one more. That's an hour. And that shit adds up. But it's good. At least I've been on my music grind, and that kind of takes up my focus. And I was thinking this the other day, like, whenever you find something that you don't get distracted doing, that's what you should pursue more of, because that shows, especially if you're very like me, if something can really focus your energy, that's of merit.
For sure.
That was my word vomit, but I wanted to add, this is what coming to the end of the podcast.
Sad but good because I'm hungry.
Let's go eat. Let's ASMR some Filipino food. But I like asking this question to everyone that comes in. What are 3 pieces of advice you would give to your younger self?
To my younger self? To
your younger self. Well, you can interpret that however. Maybe it's the one in high school or community college, or even the one from this last summer, or with the idea that I view this as an opportunity for people who can relate to your experience, and then maybe you can say to somebody younger, like, what are 3 pieces of advice you would have? Angela Fu.
Thank you. When thinking in this framework of advice and love, I often come at it from, like, how do I want my daughter or my son or my child to feel?
You have a kid?
No. I think that it prompts something that allows me to be more gentle and more conscientious and thoughtful and generous with how I'm able to regard myself in an intergenerational context. So I think that's part of
We ran out of
how that's part of how I would start this train of thought. I think I heard this from an artist, Yetunde, who's a MFA student at Mills College. But she says, or they say, be the best ancestor you can be. And to add on to that, be the best that you can be in the present, period. And try to be generous in understanding that those around you are doing most likely the best that they can do as well. I think laugh a lot, experience joy unapologetically, and cry when you need to also. Yeah.
So you said, laugh a lot?
Laugh a lot, cry a lot.
What was the first one? There was one before that. Did you say? No, it was the... Okay. To number it. Laugh a lot.
You love lists. I'm so anti, like, it can't be quantifiable. It's all in the moment. And you're like, okay. 1, 2.
That's the format of my podcast post where I put it 3 things you would give to yourself. I guess that's why I guess I do like lists. I actually do like lists.
You like organize. Look, everywhere. List.
I guess.
List.
I think because my brain is naturally a jumble and all over the place.
That's how you sort.
Most
of this is lists of things. Too,
I have had to develop the skill or the predilection towards.
Ooh.
Let me ASMR that word.
Predilection.
I had to get that down so that I don't
Joseph.
I don't what's this called, get all strewn about, right? I just learned how to self-manage in that way.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but my brain is usually like that. But yeah. Anyway, distraction. Okay. Laugh more, cry more. You said.
Exist conscientiously and generously.
Exist consciously
at your capacity, while also having those same that same generosity to yourself and the same gentleness. Yeah.
Snaps to that. I think more people should be kinder to themselves, especially. I know this about cool people, like dope and friendly people who are caretakers, right? A lot of times they're not taking care of themselves, right? And I've noticed that a lot. I'm like, dude, like I have a homegirl. I'm like, bruh, like she made a mistake. She did something, and then she was so hard on herself. But then I know her as a person who's very forgiving to others and very gives them space and talks them through hey, you made a mistake, right? But she wasn't doing that to herself. And I was like, damn, what's this hypocritical shit, fam? Be nice to yourself, right? But that's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get that food. But before that, how can people get in contact with you? Instagram.
They can't. I'm a ghost.
What was your website?
Just keep sliding on Tinder until you find me.
Oh my god. Bumble.
On Bumble. On Hinge. Just kidding.
Coffee meets bagel.
Coffee meets a bagel.
Plenty of fish.
Plenty of fish. No, everyone gets catfished on Plenty of Fish.
I don't know.
On Neve's show, Catfish, they all, the MTV show Catfish, they're all from Plenty of Fish.
Oh, really?
Fuck that.
Maybe it's called Catfish. Plenty of catfish.
Plenty of catfish. Instagram, Angela.Buenca.
That Buenca. Where's Buenca?
Buencamino.
How come we don't use a phone?
I don't know. I did for a bit, but at this moment, Angela.Buenca.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what feels right now. Facebook,
What was the website that you were showing me?
AngelaHien.com.
Hien.
That's my first name, Angela Hien. Angela.
Oh, your first name is
Hien. Yeah.
So your first name, you have two first names. It's Angela Hien.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. AngelaHien.com. Slide in my DMs, Instagram, Facebook. That's about it.
Do you do collabs with other artists?
Sometimes, yeah.
Like
we just did one.
Oh, dude. But I meant like visual art or like
kind of, yeah. I'm tinkering around with it, yeah. Oh. Yeah. So hit me up for collabs. Hit me up for coffee. Like, let's chat. Yeah.
I'll drink coffee with you after Sober October is over.
Sober October.
Do you have any other shout outs? Do you want to shout out anyone?
Shout out to my mom. Shout out to Chief Keef and my mama. Yeah. That's it.
Cool. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for holding space. This was very special. Yeah. Thank you.
Dope. Yeah. Peace. Sorry, it's all over the place sometimes. My brain went like funky for a minute.
I know. I felt like my hunger really suddenly, and I was like, "Oh, what are my words?"
Oh no! I actually wish we started off
with food.
No. Oh yeah. Oh, maybe that should be a feature next time. Yeah. But I wish we started off talking about your art stuff first. And then, but I also really felt a certain amount of mental energy in the beginning, like I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a full moon outside right now. Maybe the balance was thrown off because we got 2 Libras, and then we were drawing too much Libra energy.
Have you ever dated another Libra? It's terrible.
Really? They say that's the best though. If you're a Libra.
No, it's just no. Oh. For the Libras, they usually say that you should find like an Aries or a Taurus to like contrast you so much.
Why? What are they supposed to be?
Kind of extremities. Grounded. Taurus are like an extremity of being like stubborn and grounded, and then the Aries. Oh,
that's why I like my ate. Just joking. I love you.
That's my brother. I mean, my brother's a Libra too, but he's definitely like so rooted.
And then what's the Aries?
Aries is like fire, like not as crazy as a Scorpio, but definitely like they got things to say. Yeah.
Maybe, but that might be unhealthy for I've been unhealthily attracted to very like fire. Oh, I don't know, fiery, not in terms of sign, but maybe just personality and more like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
But that attraction, that chemistry is valid too. I mean, it's not everything, but it's like kind of an inexplicable aspect of love, relationships, dating, partnership.
But that was my bad, unhealthy time. Because I was in a caretaking type, like let me fix you type thing for some reason.
No.
Yeah, that wasn't good. But then, yeah. Interesting. Next episode, Co-Star. Co-Star is pretty dope. When I got into it over the summer, and I did a lot more Libra learning and learned about other signs and stuff like that. But there's still a lot more. I like the Pattern app. Do you have the Pattern?
No.
The Pattern is dope. The Pattern is dope. You should check it out.
Pattern?
Like, Pattern. But then it's the same. You put in your date of birth and the time thing too, but then it doesn't talk anything about signs, but then it does like these patterns in your life. Like how do you view certain relationships, or you codependent or things like that. And then it was actually pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Not super spot on, maybe because there's some confirmation bias. Of course, I wanted to like, wow. But there was like a good amount of stuff that made me think about like even my codependency and all stuff. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah,
technology.
we've all got that too. Yeah.
Shout out, sponsor me, Co-Star, and the Pattern. All right, peace.
All right.